Okay, welcome back. I want to talk a little bit about quantifying the benefits of trees and urban forests in general, in terms of how do we scale that up to how much benefit of a benefit do we get at the tree level to how does that scale to the entire city, and how do we determine what some of those benefits or what the quantification is of some of those benefits, because it's actually really really important to have numbers, dollar values, something concrete that you can point to and say, we're getting this X amount of benefits from this tree or from our entire urban forest. If you want to try to educate the public about why to have these things, or if you're part of maybe a lobbying group or a nonprofit and you're trying to convince some political elected official why they should be funding these things, you can take these numbers to people and say, here's an exact amount, here's what exactly you're getting from these things. Having those sorts of numbers can be really, really powerful for convincing people to fund urban forestry related projects even more. So I want to take a couple of minutes to introduce some of the ways in which some of the tools that you can use, urban foresters can use to do these sorts of things. So one of the biggest ones is probably the iTree set of tools that I mentioned earlier. This is from the USDA Forest Service, and they've created a set of tools here. You can go to the website, and we're actually going to use this website for an assignment here in a bit, but you can go to this website and check out all of their tools, literally everything they have. I think everything they have is free and available to anybody. You don't have to be an urban forester to use these tools. Now, you should know what you're doing when you're using them, but they're freely available, and that's really powerful for, if you're a smaller government and maybe you don't have a lot of funds available to fund urban forestry projects, or you're an urban forester at a small city, and you don't have the budget to do a full-scale inventory. You can use these sorts of tools to get an idea of what's going on in your city and leverage that to maybe get some more funding, or just have an idea of the urban forest in your city. So so they have these different tools. The iTree landscape can assess the human and forest population information and threats, and kind of as a more large scale stuff. And that's probably not one that the general public would really. While you could probably access it, but maybe wouldn't be super useful. iTree Canopy is a really really cool tool that you can get really quick estimates that are within reasonable ranges of what might be going on in the city. And this is what we're going to use to do an assignment. But basically, you can load your own boundary. You could, if you had a shape file, which is a geospatial file, you could load it in here, and maybe it's like the boundary of a city, and it will generate these aerial photographs, and there'll be a point on the map, and wherever that point falls, you classify that as, is this a tree or a shrub? Is this grass? Is it impervious surface? Is it a building? And you go through a number of aerial photographs and do that over and over again, and it's going to generate estimates of tree canopy cover in that city, or in that bound, whatever the boundary was that you used, and will give you the benefits, the estimates of benefits that you're getting in this report that you can kind of see for the images that you view, or for the city that you use. I'm not going to give you shape files. We're going to go in here and I'll provide instructions for how to do this, but you can actually draw your own boundary. So this is what we'll be using, and you're just going to classify a bunch of images, and for whatever area you decide to use, you're going to get some estimates for that. But it's a really powerful tool. If you don't have the ability to go out and pay employees or companies to go out and collect data on all of your trees, you can get some reasonable estimates. iTree Design is another cool one, where you can sort of, if you're a property owner or thinking about buying property or whatever, you can go into a parcel and sort of see, if you place a tree, a certain type of tree, where it's going to give you the most benefits in terms of energy savings and things like that for your property. So that's a cool tool. iTree Eco quantifies the structure and threats and benefits to forest populations globally. Again, probably a little bit outside the realm of this course. And they have some other tools and stuff in here too. So it's a really powerful set of tools for foresters and urban foresters and anyone who's engaged in the urban ecological realm where you want to have some data to make the cases. And we'll learn a little bit more about how some of these tools work. Um, just to show you some inventory. So if you're managing, and we'll talk about this inventories later on in the semester, but um, if you are managing a forest, an urban forest, one of the most powerful management tools you can have would be a comprehensive inventory where you have information on every single tree that's on private property, or sorry, on public property. Or maybe you have every data on every tree that's a street tree or something like that. The city of Bloomington does actually have a tree inventory. I think this was done by Davy Tree Resource Group or Davy Resource Group. They're an urban forestry company that we talked about earlier in the semester, but it is publicly available. The last time I went to this website, it was a little bit funky in the way it was loading, but I think it still works. So if you want to go in and check out Bloomington's urban forest, you can actually go in there and select individual trees, and it'll give you, I think it'll give you like the type of tree and the size of tree, which probably would have been useful when you were IDing trees, right? But that would have been cheating, so I didn't tell you about this yet. Um, but it's a cool website. It's public, and taxpayers paid for, it's the city of Bloomington collected this data, so I'm glad that it's publicly available. And you can actually go in and see, what's the 19,000 trees, what's the benefit is, almost $1 million in terms of ecosystem benefits just in the city of Bloomington. This doesn't even include trees on campus. And you can see all the other different benefits. I don't know, they have some other stuff in here, but I haven't really checked it out. Um, I don't know if it gives you like the benefits per tree or not, but still pretty interesting in that it's available. And this is, the place where we live. So check that out if you're interested. Also, another really cool thing is that IU has its own tree inventory, and this was collected by, I'm not gonna remember now, I should have wrote it down. I think it's the sustainability people. In fact, some of you may be coming from SPIA and sustainability stuff, so you may already have more knowledge about this than I actually do. But it's out there, and I think this is a GIS art map. Anyway, if you Google IU tree inventory, this should come up and you should be able to find it. And I think most of this was done for landscape purposes. If you're managing this, the landscape services now has data on every single tree, and even probably places where they can plant trees, and they know the type of tree and the condition and stuff. So if they need to work on it or whatever, tree needs removed or has health problems or whatever, they know exactly where it is and where can find it. And that's a incredibly valuable tool, but also, again, allows you to quantify those benefits using, and I didn't go into this, but there's, these models that we can use that can say, if you have a 15-inch maple, diameter maple in here, you're probably getting X amount of this type of benefit, X amount of air quality benefits and stormwater benefits based on, studies that quantify that. And then you can get an idea if you just, add them all up, and you get this is what's going on with this entire population. So that's really important to have and really valuable to be able to quantify that at the city scale to show policymakers and elected officials how important that is. But also, if you are those people and you want to convince the public, then you can educate the public about that as well. So there's really cool tools that are available. And after this video, there'll be another video here that's going to sort of walk through some of the GIS applications. And we're not going to really use GIS really in this class, but I think it's inherently important to the field of urban forestry in terms of managing and quantifying some of this stuff. So that's all I got for this one. For this video, there'll be another video that talks about some of those GIS applications and how technology can be used in urban forestry. Oh yeah, and just I know I mentioned this already, but I'm going to keep mentioning it until you're sick of it, and then I'll probably mention it a couple more times after that. But go vote, please go vote. Early voting is going on. If you're registered here in Bloomington, you can go vote. If you're registered somewhere else, please figure out how and when and where you're going to do that. If you're a U.S. citizen, again, elected officials are the ones who set the budgets at the local and state and federal level. So they're determining how much money is going into urban forestry related programs, if this is something you care about. And we just talked about all the benefits of trees. And so every dollar that you invest, you're getting more, much more, at least an order of magnitude more back from that investment in terms of the benefits to the public. So keep those issues in mind when you're voting. Vote for people who believe and support the things that you support, and just take some time and go vote. I'll probably mention that a couple more times and you'll probably be sick of it, but it is important. Okay, that's it for this video. Keep working your way through the module, and I will see you next week.